Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Slay It, where we dare to dream big. In case you're new to my channel, let me just explain really quickly what Slay It is all about. So basically, this channel is all about showcasing excellence in various fields, whether it's academic excellence, artistic excellence, athletic excellence, things like that. So basically, every episode, I invite people onto the show who demonstrated excellence in a certain field, and I basically interview them on maybe how they got their start in that field, how they're doing in that field currently, what advice they might have for people that want to get into that field or are getting a start in that field, and questions like that. So today, let me just give some backstory as to why I'm doing this episode first. So about a month and a half ago in April, my school was doing an international food and music festival. And so I was there and I was performing, but the highlight of the night, and everybody was so hyped up about it. They were all like, this band's performing. And I was like, what is this band that everybody's so hyped up about? And everybody was saying, Torsion's performing. I was like, Torsion must be the name of the band. And so I was like, I really need to see what this like hype is all about. I need to see why everybody's so excited about it, and maybe just take a listen and see why everyone's so excited about it. And so they got on stage and they performed. And the crowd went absolutely wild. Everybody was like, "Woo, it's so good!" And even I was like one of them because it was absolutely amazing. I absolutely loved their performance. And after they performed, I thought to myself, why don't I invite them on to Slay It? And so here we are doing this episode right now where I've invited Torsion, a rock band with whose all band members are from Haynes Academy, on to Slay It. So let me introduce the band members real quick. So please give a very, very warm welcome to Jack Giles, the electric guitarist of Torsion, David Russo, the drummer of Torsion. I had him on my theater episode actually, which I released about 2 months ago, 3 months ago. So yeah, he's back on Slay It as part of Torsion. We also have Aiden D'Alessandro, the bass guitarist of Torsion. And unfortunately, Avishka Fernando, he's a singer. He unfortunately couldn't be here today, but don't worry. He is also one of the band members of Torsion, just like these three on my channel right now. So it really is a pleasure to have all three of you right here on the show. I mean, I saw you guys perform that day. I was like, I have to have them on Slay. And here we are doing the episode. So I suppose without further ado, we shall get started. So
Yeah.
let me just state my first question right now. So as they say, with all great things in life, there's always a start to it. There's always a beginning, like how they might have imagined it, how they might have come up with the idea of doing it in the first place. So that's kind of what this question is all about. So my first question to you is, how did you guys come up with the idea of Torsion? So I suppose for this question, we can start off with David, since he had the most experience on being on Slay. So take
Yeah.
it away, David.
So basically it just kind of started back when we were like, I don't know, maybe 13, 14, like seventh grade. And it was just kind of like, I mean, I'd been playing the drums, Jack had been playing guitar, and we were like, what if we like make a band? And so we found someone who played bass, that being Aiden, and we just kind of, ended up playing music because we were like, we enjoyed this, and that's just how it really started, in my opinion. I mean, we just did something we loved. We were like, well, we both do it, so let's just make a band. Let's just make it happen. Uh, Jack
Cool.
seems to remember it a different way.
Yeah, well, we actually didn't start out with Aiden. Aiden was not the OG guy.
Yeah.
He ended up being the best guy for the job, but he was not the first. We actually had a different bassist, this girl Alyssa, but we actually weren't Torsion back then either. We had a different name at first. Some of you might know Twisted Nut. Um, that was our original name. It was me, David, Alyssa, and our original singer was Gracie Bunch.
The
But
Mason on
eventually
there too.
we did. Not at first. Mason was not there at first. We did have a saxophone player at some point as well, but
Mm-hmm.
um, but eventually we evolved into Torsion, which means something similar to the original name, but it's a little bit more distinguished. We've grown up a little bit, so now we have our four current members.
And it's a good thing, like it ended up that way, you know. It just kind of like as you progress, as you keep playing, like you figure out what works for your style, what works for your band. And you know, with our current members, we've found out like, you know, our music tastes, our style, like they blend together really well. I mean, like, and me, Jack, and Aiden, we're all best friends. So I mean, the dynamic with the band as well, and so can't get much better than that.
That's really great. I really love that. Like, I especially love what David said that it was just you guys started the band because you just wanted to make music together. And I really think that's the best part because I remember I was watching this one YouTube video and they were talking about like how two people who are playing music together, they don't even need to speak the same language. They can just play with each other. And that's kind of like how music is its own language. And I see that kind of happening here when you guys started the band. You guys were kind of friends and you all had your own bond. You already had like a friendship bond in your own way. And so you kind of expanded upon that by kind of starting the band and just doing something you love together, which is playing music. And I really, really admire that. And of course, the journey's not going to be smooth. There's going to be a lot of changes. Like, for example, what you guys were talking about first, the musicians changed. Like, Aiden came on a little bit later than David and Jack might have, but that's all part of making music and managing a band. That's all part of the lifelong journey of doing that. And so I really admire you guys for really having the drive to start this as well, because it's so hard to get something like this off the ground. And I can see that you guys have done it really, really well. So I admire you for that. So I suppose we can move on to the next question now. So music, it's something we absolutely love. It's something that we put our 100% heart and soul into, and it's why we make music. Music is a way that we can express ourselves and a way that we can show our emotions to the audience and everybody who's hearing the music that we're making. And so this question kind of expands upon that viewpoint of music and why we love making music and being part of the band like you guys have made so far. So my question to you guys is, why do each of you love being a part of Torsion? So I think for this question, I think we can start off with Jack this time. So what do you have to say? Why do you love being a part of Torsion?
To put it simply, I love loud hard rock music. I love Midwest emo, and I love like Weezer, and we play a lot of Weezer songs, and we play a lot of hard rockin' songs, and you know it's a crazy feeling that you get when you go up on stage or even in practices. Honestly, like we had a practice like a month ago, and we played this song by a band we really like called Mom Jeans, and it's a song Girl Scout Cookies. Everyone should listen to it. It's very good. But we played it for the first time together ever. Aiden was just learning it. Like me and David kind of already knew it, but Aiden was just learning it, and he hit it so perfectly, and it sounded so amazing. And I was like I was about to cry at the end of the performance of it. Like it was so nice. So you know, it's just kind of the emotion that music evokes that really touches me.
I really agree with that. It's like you said, music can evoke emotions from out of us that we never even thought we would feel at the moment. It kind of just comes out at the moment because there's just something in us that invoked that emotion in us. But I suppose we can let's hear Aiden's side of the story. Why do you love being a part of Torsion? Why do you love playing with your friends and doing what you do?
Yeah, so like Jack said, I love music. Like I play in multiple jazz bands with, you know, the big upright bass or whatever, or this or that. And playing with Torsion is a different experience from all that because it's not like a set thing or you have to sound this way or this way, you know? Like we play these songs that we like to hear, not the audience we're playing for. And I think that really kind of helps us involve ourselves in the bands.
You guys are actually mentioning so many good points that I absolutely love. Because, like, here's the thing, I love listening to classical music as well, right? And I'm not saying classical music is like a by the book genre, but it's a lot more like kind of sticking to the process than sticking to the process and playing what's written on the paper than these kind of like rock bands or jazz bands or things like that. And I really, really love that because music is like a huge part of music is creativity. And I think you guys are really reflecting that in your band and all the music you play. But we still haven't heard from one person yet. David, why do you love being a part of Torsion?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm gonna have to agree with both Jack and Aiden. I think like the reason I love Torsion so much is just like the energy and like the emotion that goes into playing rock music. Like there's no substitute for just getting together with your friends and just like making something that sounds awesome. Like right now, and I'm not even talking just about covers, like which we normally do for gigs and at practices. I'm talking about just in general, like a couple weeks ago, we're working on a demo right now. We're trying to release an EP by the end of the summer, and just writing our own music and being like we made this together. I mean, I'm just like I'm ecstatic. Like I just love it. I love it so much.
Okay, wait. You just made me just get so many questions in my head right now. So wait, you're releasing like an EP on Apple Music or on like Spotify or things like that? Like,
So yeah, we're working
yeah.
on some writing things right now. We're trying to in the next few months rent out a studio, go record and release our first ever EP, maybe like 4 or 5 songs on Spotify, maybe Apple Music, maybe SoundCloud, just anywhere we can release it to get our own content out there.
Right? It seems like you guys have really big ambitions for this band, and I really like that because of course as you said it's like music is something that everybody can enjoy. You can just get together with your friends and you can just play, and I feel like what you're doing with this band is not it's like taking it from friendship to like a whole new level as well, to like getting in a recording studio, and like it's just a part of drive and what you want to accomplish as this band while still having and maintaining and strengthening a relationship with your friends as well. But I had another question. Would you say that you've discovered like a lot more rock music as you've managed Torsion or as you've played more music with Torsion? Like, would you say you've discovered more music by
Oh,
doing that?
100%. Like I said, I mean, we started out originally as like a 90s rock band, doing a lot of 90s covers. And now I would say we have a pretty hefty mix of 90s rock with another genre called Midwest emo. And there's some bands on there that like I would never have found if it weren't for Torsion. Like Jack mentioned the band Mom Jeans earlier. They've been my number one artist on Spotify for 2 years. Um, there's this other band called Origami Angel that you should all listen to. Jack showed me that band like while we were practicing. He's like, "Oh, have you heard this section of this song?" And I'm like, "No." And he's like, "It's by a band called Origami Angel." And they're currently all over my Spotify homepage right now. So, yeah, it's helped me to discover like different genres, different subgenres, and different artists that I enjoy personally. And that influences my playing style within Torsion itself.
Yeah. Also, we've gotten to meet some local groups as well, and some really niche groups. I've come across there's a group of kids that goes to Ben Franklin, I think, and they're called Beverly Hills Polo Club, and they are very good. Um, Everyone should check them out. We went on a tour this past week for Junior Journey, and we met this guy at MSU. Just our teacher told him about our band, and he told us that he plays guitar in this other band called Bored to Tears, and they are very good. And it was crazy because we met him in real life, and like I don't know, it's really awesome seeing people like that. And then shout out Boot, another New Orleans band. They played some pretty crazy hard music. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It's just really awesome getting to know people in like local scenes. Also growing up as people and growing up as bands like us. So I don't know. It's really fun. It's really nice.
That's really that's really great. I guess what you kind of just mentioned there is like I guess that's I guess it's just another reason why you love being a part of Torsion. It's allowed you to meet I guess kind of like so many more people who are maybe like on the same step of the journey that you might be on, or are like further along the journey as you be on? Because I suppose like as you get further along through your musical journey and as you start to expand Torsion and its influence and like the different genres of music you play and things like that, you're gonna need to like meet people and like start up relationships with people who maybe been through this kind of stuff. Like they've been through the expansion process or they've been through the making relationships process. And so it's really great to just meet people like that so that it's really great to meet people like that. So I guess you can kind of just meet someone who's been there and done it so that you'll kind of have help along the way when you start to encounter these different processes and things. So I think that's really fascinating, and I guess I can see why you guys really love doing Torsion. If I were a member of a band that was as great as you guys, and I'd love being a part of it as well. So I suppose we'll move on to the next question from here. So this is kind of a question that I ask to basically everybody that comes on my show because it's such a huge part of why I love doing Slate. Because of course you can maintain excellence in a field. You can maintain academic excellence, artistic excellence, athletic excellence. That's not too hard. But what's hard is balancing it with so many of the other things you do. Because I can already assume right off the bat that Torsion is definitely not the only thing you guys do. You guys have lives outside of Torsion. You guys have extracurriculars you guys do outside of Torsion. I suppose your life is just a lot more than just playing with Torsion and just doing that. So that's kind of what this next question builds off of. How do you manage to balance Torsion with their extracurriculars? So since we started with Jack for that last one, I think we can start off with Aiden for this one.
Yeah, so like I said, I do a bunch of different bands all over the city and whatnot. And I don't know, the last question, it feels like Torsion almost gives us our own little bubble with all those different people. And I feel like that's expanded my horizons to talk to other people who may help me with other extracurriculars, like other bands and all, like open those gates. But I think meeting those new people helps me with my extracurriculars because it helps me uh, get a feel on how they have done it in the past, and it kind of shows me, the easier ways to do it in my life.
That's very interesting. I suppose it's kind of like, yeah, what you said earlier about like how you're gonna meet people along the way who can kind of show you the way. And I suppose that kind of does make it easier to balance Torsion with your extracurriculars as well. Because it's like you're not alone in this process. You have people out there who can help you along the process. You have people out there who can assist you and give you advice as to how to expand your influence and do things like that. So I really like that answer. So thank you for that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think Jack, you can answer this one.
I will say also it does make it a little difficult because going to Haynes, like it's pretty standard to have a lot of extracurriculars. So it does make it a little difficult when we're trying to plan things. Like we've been trying to do a gig for a while, like at this one spot, and it's just been so difficult because everyone is so busy and like we all love to travel, like in our families as well. So it's like we're all going places this summer and like we all have, I think some of us have like internships and like camp type things to go to. So it does make it a little difficult, but I do think that a lot of the different musical extracurriculars that we do has definitely helped us in our just being better as musicians. Like just even being in like marching band, almost nothing to do with the type of music we play in Torsion, but even so, like we know a lot of different things from that have helped us in like the songs we're writing right now, or like understanding difficult songs that we're covering.
Yeah, I definitely, because I go to Haynes as well, and even though like I'm not in high school yet or anything, even for me, it's kind of like at Haynes you are expected to do quite a few extracurriculars, as Jack said. So I can definitely see how it would be hard to manage Torsion when you're doing so many other things as well. But considering that you're about to get your music on Spotify and you just did an amazing performance about a month and a half ago, and you're looking for a gig, I think you guys are doing pretty well so far, in my opinion. But yeah, in my opinion, I think you guys are doing pretty well so far. But to end this question, I think let's go to David this time.
Yeah, so I would actually say like for me, torsion is almost like I don't want to say a break, but like a break from extracurriculars. Like say I'm trying to work on a project for a class or I need to finish something up for a club. I'm just like grinding on all this work. I'm gonna be like, man, I'm gonna go practice the drums. And I'll just go play torsion stuff. I'll go play torsion stuff on the drums. Practices, like Jack said, they can get a little hairy at times. We're all doing so many different things. Sorry, it's a little loud out here. But like we're all doing different things. But also once we get together and practice or get together and play a gig, like we all have this drive to keep doing it. Like so it ends up being easier to plan more in the future.
Hmm. You know what? You actually just mentioned so many great points there, and I love how like when you said Torsion is almost like a break, Jack and Aiden, they were nodding on the side. And I can actually envision that as well because for me, even though I'm like not part of a band or anything, I do play musical instruments. I do play the alto saxophone in my school band, and I do play piano. And I can vouch for David. If you're like currently involved in a lot of like academic stuff, like a big project or something, it feels nice to just like take a 10-minute break and just venture over to like whatever musical instrument you may be playing and kind of just practicing your stuff because that kind of is almost like what music is. That's why there's so many music. That's why there's even music programs in school at all. It's almost kind of like a break where you can just let your creativity run wild. You can let your musical taste run wild. And it's just a place where you're not just working 24/7, 365 on all your academic things. So that is a really, really good point you mentioned there, David. I do that's probably like the point I've agreed with the most in like this whole podcast so far. So yeah, thank you for mentioning that. But I think on to the next question we shall go. So, of course, whenever you do performances with a band or even solo and this kind of stuff, there's always going to be some performances that stick out in your head. Like whenever you're like hanging out with the band or something, be like, "Oh, hey, remember when that happened? Oh, yeah, that was really funny. Oh, hey, you remember when that happened? Yeah, that was pretty funny too." So, I assume that something in one way or another that has happened for you guys just based on first of all when you started the band it seems very developed, so I assume you guys have had at least one moment or one performance where something interesting has happened to say the least. So I just want to know what was your most interesting experience while performing for various audiences. I think for this question we can I think Jack, let's start off with Jack this time. So yeah.
My favorite thing that has ever happened at a performance, hands down, would be when Avishka hopped off the stage and was running around at Food Fest. I think that was really funny. And there's a clip actually on their Instagram of my friend Eric was filming, and he's just like screaming for Avishka, and it was throughout the whole clip. It was so funny. He was yelling at Avishka before and after the concert too. But it's just like moments like that. It's just like our really like nice friends. They're so sweet and they support us so much. So yeah, has to be that definitely. Davidson's bro.
No, but I was there when you guys were performing, and for that last song when Avishka jumped off the stage, I was like, "Whoa, whoa, what is this? What's happening?" I felt like I was at an actual rock concert because it looked like something that would happen at an actual rock concert. Like, so he was just jumping off the stage, and he's like, all the people are like, "Ah," like reaching out for him and stuff. So it kind of, I was there, and I could kind of envision that in my head, and even I thought that was pretty interesting and frankly pretty cool. I think, David, we'll go to you. So, what was your most interesting experience while performing for various audiences, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think that one, Vishka jumping off the stage was probably one of my top experiences. Just because I remember hyping him up the whole night. I was like, Avishka, you gotta jump off the stage, man. It's gonna be so cool. Everyone's gonna get so hyped. And you know what? It was so cool. And everyone did get so hyped. Um, I would say that's probably my most interesting Torsion experience. I mean, I've had other experiences like not playing with Torsion, but playing for various audiences. There was this one gig I was playing once with another rock band. They were called. It's slipping my mind. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna bring it up later in this interview. But I hopped on drums with them for a few songs, and I had lost a stick at one point in the song, so I had to play the drums with my feet and my hands for a second while I tried to find more sticks around the drum set. And that was a pretty interesting moment because everyone thought I was just building up to something big. And I like when I came back in, I came in hard and everyone was like, "Oh." But the recovery, it went well. And I think that, that says something as well. Like as long as it doesn't matter if you mess up, as long as you're having fun up there, as long as you're making good music, like everyone's gonna have fun and you're gonna make it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I remember we had like a similar question from the theater episode I did previously about like what was something that maybe went wrong on stage or something like funny that happened on stage. And so this is kind of similar to that. And I'm gonna like after Aiden gives his answer, I'm gonna maybe like I'm gonna talk about like maybe uh kind of like what we should take away from this. But David, you just mentioned something big right there. Even if something goes wrong in the middle of the performance, it's like at least you're still having fun. At least you're still up there making music. At least you're still up there doing what you love. And yeah, I definitely do agree with that. I'm sure Jack and Aiden do as well. But that just reminds me, Aiden, you still haven't answered yet. So time for you to share what your most interesting experience was while performing for various audiences.
Yeah, so definitely the torsion, the Vishka jumping off the stage, that was a really, really funny thing to happen. I wasn't expecting it because like David said he was trying to hype him up all night and Vishka was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do that. But he did it and it was awesome. Um and I mean a crazy thing that did happen was I was playing with the jazz bands around the city and one of the times a guitarist like strings like snapped on stage I was playing with, and it was a really crazy thing. But we got like we got another guitar, we exchanged it out and stuff, and it's kind of like David said, yeah, you just got to keep going with it, no matter what happens. And it turned out right. It was a really cool thing that happened. We got it all fixed up, and yeah, it's really cool.
You know what? I feel like it's kind of obvious, but a lot of like pretty much all the things that you just mentioned, like whether good or bad, it happens in the moment. Like, and Aiden, when you said like Avishka was kind of like, about the whole jumping off the stage thing, and then in the moment he just did it, a lot of that is kind of like just in the moment because before you start doing the thing, you might be reluctant to do, but once you're like in full swing and you're like feeling good about it, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna change my mind and maybe I will actually do that thing. So a lot of it kind of just happens in the moment, and it's not just good things as well. Quite a few times, it will be bad things that happen as well, like with David dropping the drumstick or the guitar strings breaking. And so it's all about kind of a recovery process and not just you getting the problem, but also how you deal with it in the end as well. That's a huge part of it, if not the biggest part of it. So yeah, I think those were all some pretty funny and pretty interesting experiences that you guys mentioned. Then. So time for our second to last question. So this is a big part of music. This is one of the reasons why musicians love doing what they do is because it brings their community together. The reason people love making music so much is because it kind of allows the community to kind of come together and appreciate music and just have a great time while listening to music of all different types, whether it's classical music, jazz music, rock music, and everything in between. So that's kind of what this question is about. So, my question to you is, how has Torsion brought your community together? So I think we can start off with Aiden for this one. So how's Torsion brought the community together?
So I there are many different ways, but um, I know like with the bands we were talking about, we got to meet all these cool bands and stuff, and I never thought I would, be talking to these people, but we talked to these people and got to meet some new people who are interested in the same things as us, and I think that brings us together. But also with our friends, um, I know like all of our friends they might do it just because they think it's funny, but in the end, like you know what happened when you were at International Food Fest? They were like, "Oh, we're so excited to see this band," and everyone stayed to the end. But because they stayed to the end, they watched all the other performances at the food festival and this and that and stuff. I think that also, you know, brought everybody together.
You know, that is actually I never thought of that. It's like if someone comes there and they wanna see the band, but or like you have to come before like a certain time to like get into the thing. It's like, oh, I came here to see Torsion, but you have to wait through all the other performances before you get to see it. And I remember it was quite late. It started at around like was it around 6 o'clock, 6:30, somewhere around that, and you guys performed at like 9 o'clock or 9:30 or something like that. So that was 3 hours of performances that someone who came there solely to see Torsion had to sit through and listen to before they got to hear Torsion. And so that's actually such a good point you mentioned because even though someone just came there, even though like some people might have just come there to see Torsion, they also got to see so many other different types of music genres and other different types of foreign music and musical styles as well, besides just your rock band. And yeah, that was a really good point you brought up right then. So I
Yeah.
think next up we can have David giving his answer for this. So how's Torsion brought the community together?
Yeah. So I think this goes for anything like in entertainment, for that matter. To bring the community together, it's all about having a good time. Like you just have to have a good time. And I think Torsion, having like our group of friends and having people at Haynes who hype us up, even if it is like Aiden said, kind of like in a joking manner, but who are like, "Oh, you got to see Torsion, you got to see Torsion." When other people do hear Torsion and like they enjoy what we do on stage, they're like, "Wow, that's good." And when you're playing at a venue, when you're doing something, it allows people to come there and it enhances their experience at that venue. So like I'll take Food Fest again, for instance. Since we've been talking about that, we had can y'all hear me still? Am I still here?
Yeah, yeah, you're all
Okay.
good.
Okay, my computer just like glitched out. Uh, so there was face painting, and now this has started to happen pretty much at every school event where face painting is an option. But we had a bunch of people face paint torsion on their forehead, our logo. We ourselves have also we do teas every time we do face paint. And uh basically a lot of people at school now, whenever we have face paint, they'll be like, "Give me the torsion tee." So I just think it makes life more fun. It makes whatever event you're at more fun. And that's the point, is to make it fun for us to have fun, for the community to have fun. And I think we get that pretty well.
I love what you said about the torsion tee because I remember just coming there and just seeing it. I was like, wait, what is written on their forehead? And I was like, oh, torsion is written on their forehead. But wait, what's torsion? And so I just thought that was really funny. And I think you are right about how that kind of brings the community together as well. It's about how you're having a great time just listening to the band that you came there to hear. Like how a lot of people came there to see Torsion, and along the way, just as Aiden said, they got to listen to so many other different styles of music as well. And so I think those are both really good points about how Torsion can bring the community together. But I still haven't had one person answer yet, Jack. So how's Torsion brought the community together in your opinion?
Yeah. So honestly, the most my favorite like thing involving the community is just like the band itself, honestly. Like we obviously have like a lot of people that like are like super hyping us up at our shows and stuff. But honestly, my favorite part of the whole thing is getting closer with my best buds. You know what I mean? Like David and Avishka are actually my guys, and it brings us together so much, like when we play music together. So I don't know, that just makes me really happy.
Yeah, and that's kind of a point that we mentioned so much throughout this interview about like how a huge part of music is just having a great time. And whether you're the performer or you're the audience, both both parties are having such a great time performing and listening to the performer. And that's kind of a huge part of music. That's why we love making music. That's why we musicians love doing what they do so much because it makes us feel good and in the process it brings the community together because the whole community is having a great time listening to maybe their favorite rock band or maybe their favorite classical group or something like that. And I feel like Torsion is just such a huge example of that and how so many people, including you guys, enjoy performing and listening to you guys perform and how that kind of brings the community together and unites everybody kind of like this. But now we are on to our final question of the podcast. So this is kind of a question I ask to everybody who comes on our show because it basically embodies the purpose of Slade, which is kind of showcasing excellence in various fields. And a huge part of showcasing excellence in various fields is kind of educating people on maybe what they can do to get into a various field and maybe, who knows, reach the same level of excellence of the people that are on the show today. So that's what this question is about. What advice would you have for other aspiring musicians looking to start a band? So for this final question, we can start off with, I think we can start off with David this time for the final question.
Yeah, I think my biggest piece of advice would be like don't be afraid to talk to people. If you're trying to like be an aspiring musician, like just in order to do music, you have to be able to communicate. It could be small things like the other day we reached out to someone about a gig and we ended up going to where the gig was, meeting with the guy, uh like looking at the place where the gig would be, seeing like, oh yeah, we could set this up here. We could have like food and drinks over here. We could do all this stuff. So small stuff like that, like planning a gig, or big stuff like when we needed a bassist and we were like, Aiden, come play bass with Torsion. And he was like, okay. So I think just whatever you're looking for, when trying to start a band, when trying to play music, make money, you just got to be able to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to put yourself out there.
You know what? I actually so glad you mentioned that because I feel like not only does that apply to music, but it applies to so many other things in life. Like if you want to be successful, if you want to get a good job, if you want to be making a steady income, you got to be willing to not just let the opportunities come to you, but you got to go to the opportunities yourself if you want to make things happen. And I feel like how you just mentioned that and like just Torsion generally is such a great example of how there's just some guys, they each play their own instrument, and then they have the drive and they have the ambition to be like, hey, let's start a band and let's get this off the ground and let's get to performing in front of live audiences. And so I think that in itself is actually so great because once again, you're not letting the opportunity come to you, you're doing it on your own and you're taking advantage of the resources you have around you. And so I just think that's so great how you guys have done that ever since seventh grade. Um, so yeah, I admire you for doing that. But I think now let's move to Aiden this time. So what advice would you have for any musicians out there looking to start a band just like Torsion?
Yeah, so one thing definitely is like David said, the connections. The connections bring everything together. Like I remember we were at Jazz Fest. We all went to Jazz Fest together, and we were making our way through the crowd and stuff. And we were stopped next to this one guy, and we were kind of just talking to people, and somehow Torsion came up, and he ended up being some guy from another band all the way in what Switzerland.
I think it was
Croatia. He's from
Croatia,
Croatia.
yeah, it's
Croatia.
Croatia.
That's far off. Never mind. But yeah, it's just from random places and stuff, connecting with these different people and all, and that's definitely a big thing. I think another big thing would also be making sure you can get the basics down with your bands. Like if you can't play a couple songs or this or that or communicate well with your bands, then you can't get get it off the ground. You got to have some sort of starting place where you can, almost sell your point and make it to where you're valuable.
And I feel like, yeah, once again, that does apply to a lot of things in life. It's like you can't start playing like the hardest things in the book or start playing the most advanced things in the book if you don't even know like how to communicate or give like visual signals or any sort of signals in case maybe something goes wrong in a performance or maybe somebody forgot to bring a piece of equipment. I mean, I'm not part of a band, so I don't really know a lot about this stuff, but I'm just assuming that that theoretically could happen. So you can't start from the top if you don't even know like what the stuff at the bottom even is. So I think that's a really good point that Aiden brought up there. It's like don't do some don't take it too fast. You gotta take it slow and realize that hey, you're just starting a band and it's okay if you don't know everything. Take your time and soon enough you will be at the top. You will have all the basics down and you will be able to move on to even more advanced concepts. So, Jack, for our final answer of the day, what advice would you have for any people out there looking to start a band?
Yeah, so for starting a band, like more music specific, I think if you're gonna be writing songs, especially, I would listen to as much like diverse music as you possibly can, because there's so many different sounds that you can get. There's like an infinite amount of sounds you can get, and the more you listen to, the more interesting the sounds that you are going to be able to produce are. Like there's just like so many niche little bands that like nobody knows about, but they're coming out with like amazing music, and like they deserve so much more recognition. But it's honestly cool because like you can like take some of their ideas and take some ideas from another band, and you can put it all together, and you can make something that you really love. So I would recommend to just like dig deep and try to figure out like what speaks to you the most so that you can create something amazing.
You know, the first thing you said about how music is infinite, that actually brought up like an incident in my head that it might not be the most related, but I thought it was really interesting. So, like, I just thought to myself, is music really infinite? Because there's only so many like combinations and permutations of notes that you could do and how to do like different notes that you could put together and things like that. And after thinking about it in my head, I was like, music truly is infinite. There is no limit to how much music there can be in this world. There is no limit to how many musical genres, musical groups, and just basically musical anything there can be in this world. And I think Jack, what you were talking about just then, about the different niche groups or different very well-known groups there are out there, I think that just really drives home the point about just how much music there is in this world. And of course, you can't listen to all of it, but you can try to listen to it. You can try to listen to as much as you can so you can kind of increase your knowledge on the different musical styles there are out there. Because think about it, if you're just an expert on one type of music, then you're not going to get very far because you won't be experimenting with different types of techniques to kind of maybe meld two different musical styles that you like a lot together because that's something music is a lot about experimentation. And if you only specialize in one genre of music, you're not really I mean, of course, nothing against people who do that. But if you're looking to start a band or be part of a musical group and you listen to kind of just one genre of music and nothing else, you're not you're not it's not really too much experimentation there. So I think that was a really good piece of advice that Jack gave to kind of diversify the music you listen to. Don't just listen to one type. Try to listen to as many types of music as you can. And that can really expand your musical knowledge and allow you to become an overall better musician. But with that, I believe that concludes our podcast. So I want to thank you all so much for coming. I learned so much about Torsion from just this interview itself. Like I didn't know that you guys were coming out with an EP album during the summer, and I think that's pretty cool. And don't worry, I'll be the first person to listen to that. So just tell me when it comes out, and I'll be searching on Apple Music for the name, and I'll be listening to it right when it comes out. So, yeah, thank you for telling me a lot about Torsion and allowing me to kind of dive in deep into the world of starting a band and managing a band and kind of doing everything that you guys do at Torsion.
Yeah, thank you for that. You're the goat.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Love
Thank
you,
you for
bro.
having us, Vedant.
Oh,
Hey.
thank you guys,
Slay
thank you
it.
so much. Thank
Slay
you
it.
guys. Yes,
Slay
slay it,
it.
guys. Make sure to click that like button, click that subscribe button, and click that little bell icon. Thank you guys so much for watching. And remember, dare to dream big.
Woo!